15 years ago, probably, maybe a little longer than that, my best friend Rosie and I were doing a show called Sex Work. It was about the sex worker industry, and we thought it would be a really great idea if we made little heart-shaped cookies, and it was around Valentine's Day, and that we would take our little flyer and cookies and drop them off to different casting offices. And so we got together the night before and we made the cookies, and we had such a blast because we were having fun doing something that was going to promote our careers. So the next day we set out with a map in hand and a list of who we were going to go after, and we stopped at a ton of casting offices, and we had an amazing experience. We went into ABC. We got past the guard because we had cookies, and we got up there, and all the heads of casting of ABC in New York came out of their offices to say hello to us. And, you know, Valorie, you look great, Rosie, and me, you know, we were two actresses that I was pretty well known, and Rosie was on her way up to being known. So it wasn't like we were beginning actresses either. I just want to put that little thing in there. So towards the end of the day, we stopped in a notoriously mean casting director's office, and we took the cookies in, and she was in session, but her three assistants were sitting there, and we said, you know, we have cookies, and they were like, yay, cookies, and they looked like they were starving, and so we gave them their cookies, and we went back out in the hall, and we were sort of regrouping, ready to move on to our next stop, and here comes that casting director with those cookies, and she's pissed, and she starts to yell at us. I remember she said something like, this office does not accept cookies. The funny thing was I had been in for her 5 or 6 times as an actress, maybe more, you know, over prior to that probably, you know, 10 years I had been in for her. So she knew me. It wasn't like she didn't know me. But apparently she said things like, we're never going to have an acting career, we don't know what we're doing, we're stupid, blah, blah, blah. And Rosie apparently was just aghast. She was shocked. She didn't even know what to say. So we took the cookies and we got back in the elevator, and as soon as we got into the elevator, because we were with each other, we burst out laughing. And, of course, the rest of the day we made fun of her, the cookie monster, and blah, blah, blah. Now, here's a couple things right there, then and there. If I had not been with Rosie, everything good that had happened that day, I would have completely forgotten in that moment in time. And it would have been all about that one experience of being told that I was stupid and I didn't know what I was doing. But because I was with my best friend, we laughed and we had a great time and we still made fun of it, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so there was a moral in that story right there, but we continue on. 10 years later, my friend Rosie calls, the one that was with me, and she said, I went in for a movie today with a big-time casting director and producer, and he said, listen, I don't know if you remember this, but 10 years ago, you and your friend, Valorie Hubbard, came into an office where I was an assistant, and I'd only been there for about 2 months, and my boss ripped these cookies out of our hands and gave them back to you and humiliated you, and I was so embarrassed for you and so appalled by this woman that I was working for that I decided when I built my business I was never going to act like that, and I was always going to look after you and Valerie's career. And that's why you're here today. And she went, holy moly. So she called me and told me the story. Cut to November 2013. My agent's call. You have a direct-to-offer film? I said, oh, who's the producer? So I got a movie 15 years later from being yelled at. And then when I'm on set with the one that was in the cast, he told the cookie story. That cookie story impacted the way that he does business. And you know what's interesting is I did a drop-off to his office the other day in New York, and he wasn't there, and it was some young kid, and he was kind of an ass to me. And I was like, so appropriate, isn't it? I said, hey, I am Valorie Hubbard. And he goes, oh, yeah. He goes, I go, just tell him I stopped by. I'm just in New York for a couple of days. I go, so you don't know the cookie story? He goes, no. I go, you ask him the cookie story. And then I left.